When I was 21, I transferred to a college in San Francisco. I checked out a room for rent on Craigslist. It wasn't a really nice 2-bedroom apartment. It was cheap rent and close to campus, so it was the ideal spot. The girl who lived there was 29 and her name was Beth. She was tall and wide, and she had jet black hair and wore pale makeup. She seemed nice, although a little quiet, but she seemed to like me and agreed to let me move in. So far so good. My first night there, we went out for pizza, and that's when I could tell that something was a little bit off with her. Throughout dinner, she kept telling me how much I looked like Shia LaBeouf. I didn't know what to say, so I just shrugged it off with a thanks? I mean, I look nothing like Shia LaBeouf, so it just didn't make any sense to me. When we got back home, she asked me if I had seen her room yet. I said no, and so she took me to see it. Her walls were covered in posters of Shia LaBeouf. She even had printed out photos of him all over her mirror. She owned all his movies. I didn't know what to make of it. It was creepy. The whole night she had been saying I look like him, and now it's obvious to me that she's obsessed with the guy. A few weeks passed, and I never really saw her that much. We didn't spend any time together really. She would come home from work and practically run to her room. She would spend the whole night in there. She had this creepy high-pitched giggle, and I would hear her giggling through the walls all night. I wondered what the hell she could possibly be doing. Occasionally she would come out and talk for like 2 minutes, and she would always be slurring her words, so I suspected she was drinking a lot. Sometimes she wouldn't say anything, and she would just stand in the hallway and watch me in the living room. I would turn and see her and be surprised and say, "Hello, Beth," and then there would be this long, awkward pause, and she would give out her creepy high-pitched giggle. It was uncomfortable being around her. She gave me the chills. One night I woke up at around 2 AM because I heard what sounded like the front door being unlocked. I came out of my bedroom and all the lights were off, but I could still see Beth standing at the front door. She had her face against it, and she was turning the lock back and forth over and over again, and every time she turned the bolt, she mumbled my name. Max Barker, Max Barker, Max Barker. Seeing her standing in the dark and mumbling my name really freaked me out. It doesn't help that she kinda looks like a bigger version of the girl from The Ring. I just quietly went back to my room and tried to sleep. One night I was watching Gladiator, and she stumbled out of her room and turned on the living room light, forcing me to pause the movie, which was annoying. She then asked me if I wanted to hear about her ex-boyfriend. It was an uneasy segue into the topic, but I just said sure and then awkwardly sat back to listen to her. 10 minutes into her story and she was so riled up. She was screaming at the top of her lungs about their breakup. I was worried that the neighbours were going to call the cops, and she wasn't listening to me when I was asking her to lower the volume. Amidst all of her screaming, one thing she said really freaked me out. She was in such a fit and yelled, "I'll slit his fucking throat." That was a big game changer. Suddenly I had no idea what this girl was capable of. She was practically a stranger, and everything I had seen was becoming alarmingly disturbing. After a few more minutes she told me thanks for listening, and she started doing her giggle. I got out of there pretty fast and went to my room to sleep. I had a pretty unsettled feeling about being in the house with her, and what's worse is that there was no lock on my bedroom door. I pushed to the edge of my dresser in front of it to act as a little barricade. I woke up in the middle of the night to the sound of my dresser scraping against the floor. Beth was pushing my door open. I turned on my light, shouting at her to stop. I could see her through the opening of the door. She was so drunk and had this insane look in her eyes. I pushed the door closed and yelled at her to go to bed. I could hear her walking back to her room, but I couldn't fall back asleep. The next morning when I went out into the hallway, my heart dropped. I saw one of her steak knives was on the floor by my door. I got goosebumps all over my arms. All I could think about was her saying she would slit that guy's throat. I confronted her about it, and she said she didn't remember trying to push my door open. She said she didn't even remember telling me about her ex. I had enough. My lease was month to month, so I found a new spot and moved out. About a month after I moved out, she contacted me. I was at the movies and my phone was off. When I got out, I turned my phone on, and to my shock, I received in 40+ text messages that she had sent me over the past 2 hours. They were all just insane texts that ranged from everything between "Hi, how are you?" to "I fucking hate you." It was insane. I didn't respond, and I never heard from her again. I always wonder if I hadn't set my dresser in front of my door, would she have quietly come into my room and slit my throat? It freaks me out. Yesterday was one of the worst days I have ever had to endure. It all started with a phone call at about 7 AM. I picked up my phone to see who was calling me so early, but since I didn't recognize the number, I just put it on silent and fell back asleep. When I woke up again 3 hours later, I saw I had 12 missed calls and 8 voicemails. Panic started to set in, as I thought something horrible had happened to a family member. As I looked at all the missed numbers though, I realized that I didn't know who any of them were. I thought that was really strange, since if something bad had happened to a family member, I should at least recognize one of the numbers. Then things only got weirder as I heard the first voicemail. "Hi, I was just giving a call about the house you have for sale. I saw the Craigslist ad and was hoping to figure out a time I could be given a walkthrough. Just give me a call back, thanks." I figured that was just a wrong number and played the next voicemail. "Yeah, hi, I was calling about the house for sale on Craigslist. If you could give me a call back, I'd really like to know some more about those murders before I take a walkthrough. Thanks and have a nice day." After hearing the second voicemail, I was really starting to wonder what the hell was going on. The other 6 voicemails were all pretty much the same, inquiring about setting up a walkthrough and wanting to know about the murders. After I finished listening to the last one, I needed to figure out what the fuck was going on. I called the last number to leave a voicemail, and a woman answered. When I asked her about the house she was calling about, she said there was an ad on Craigslist offering a house for dirt cheap, but it was only so cheap because the post said that a couple had been murdered in the house. I asked her if she could text me the link, and she assured me that she would. About 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed and I saw her number pop up on its screen. I had no idea what was in store for me by clicking on that link. When the webpage opened, the coldest chill I have ever felt shot down my spine. What I saw was a picture of my house on a Craigslist for sale ad. What made it worse was that the pictures had been taken within the last week. You could see the pumpkin that I carved last weekend. Then I read the posting description. "I have this sweet little home I am putting up for sale. It is located just a hop, skip and jump away from the city. Enjoy all the seclusion and privacy that this house will bring you. My asking price is $25,000. Disclosure: there is a reason I am asking basically nothing for this house. The precious couple who lived there, a young man and woman, were murdered in the house a year ago. I figured I would get it out into the open now, so that I am only contacted by people who are not bothered by this. Don't let this little mishap dissuade you though. The neighborhood is very safe, I promise. You can call at any time, day or night, I never sleep, and we can set a time to take a walkthrough of the house. I look forward to hearing from you soon." This person had used my real name and number. I felt like I had been socked in the gut. What the fuck was going on? How did they know my number? My name? I immediately called my girlfriend over to see. I could see the horror set in on her face as she looked at the ad. I didn't think I could feel any worse until she pointed out that our car was in the picture. We were in the house when someone took those pictures. I immediately called the police to figure out what the hell to do. They informed me that I should immediately contact Craigslist to remove the posting. Other than that, there was really nothing else they could do at the moment. The only crime that had technically been committed would be trespassing, but since whoever took those pictures wasn't on our property anymore, they couldn't do anything else. I'm freaking the fuck out, guys. My girlfriend was on the phone with her mum in hysterics for most of the day yesterday. Today we've just been on constant alert. Every sound we hear makes us jump. I think the worst part is, I know there's really nothing that I can do. I feel so violated and so helpless. Is there some way we can feel safe in our own home again? This happened last year while I was broke and struggling to make ends meet. I had just moved out and didn't want to resort to going back to my parents. Anyways, I was so desperate, I was looking on Craigslist for caregiver or housekeeping type gigs, just to make quick cash while I looked for a full-time position. After responding to several, I got a bite back from a man who had advertised as a disabled man who needed help with his morning and evening routines since he had a bad back. As a past caregiver, I thought nothing of his request to help with bathing and dressing since I knew it could be difficult for some. After chatting on the phone and coming to the conclusion he was nice and normal, I proceeded to head over to his townhouse late one night to help him with his nighttime routine. He lived a bit out of the way from me, but I was desperate and didn't mind. He even said I could spend the night, since he'd need me in the morning anyway. Once I got there, he was a decent looking man in his late 30s or early 40s with a cane. He paid me $200 up front for the expected nighttime and morning routine the next day. He explained he was ex-military and had back surgery recently. Things started to get weird once he offered me some wine and commented on how cute he thought I was. I should have seen that as a big red flag, but again, I was super poor, but I didn't want to cheat him, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. He then led me to his bedroom where he got undressed for his evening shower. I was horrified, since I saw that he already had a giant erection and wanted me to lather him up. He asked if I wanted to take my clothes off, and I declined. He responded respectfully, however he did touch my butt when I bent over to pick something up for him. I should have ran out right then, but I was waiting for the right moment. After quickly giving him the most unsexy shower in the most platonic way I could, he got out and said he was heading to bed but didn't want to wear any clothes. The guest room where I was to stay was right next to his, and though I was tired, I was still pretty on edge. My gut instinct was telling me to get the hell out of there. The issue was that we were in a 3-story townhouse and we were on the top floor, and he had installed baby gates on each floor so his cat wouldn't run away. Also, he had turned off all the lights on the lower floors, so it was pitch black. In order for me to get out, I'd have to pass his room. I quietly arranged my stuff in my purse while I heard his TV blaring, and to my horror, I saw him walk swiftly to his bathroom without his cane. I realized he was not as disabled as he had told me, since he had previously put on an act as if he couldn't walk without it. He also still had his hard-on, and was holding a giant bottle of lotion with him. As quickly and quietly as I could, I fled and ran like hell out of the room while he was in the bathroom, and jumped like an Olympic sprinter over the cat gates down the dark stairs. As I threw the front door open to run to my car, I heard his house alarm go off. I got into my car as fast as lightning, heart beating like crazy. I immediately got phone calls from his number, and every car that trailed me had me terrified until I got out of there. Finally, after a 2-hour drive, I was back to my place and grateful I was out of there. Who knows what could have happened if I had stayed overnight, but I didn't want to stay to find out.
Would you run? Would you fight? Or would you be frozen in place, devoured by fear? Imagine yourself in these specific scenarios. How will your instincts make you act? Write your answer in the comment section below. Were you captivated by these stories? Consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell if your curiosity craves to hear more true, chilling reports recovered from the dark road. If you have a personal true story you'd like to share, please send it to the email address in the description.